Welcome to the Better Two podcast. I'm your host, Donna. Today's guest is Tracy Bonham. Tracy was on our show last year, and today she's back to talk about her new record, Sky Too Wide. We also talk about her plans for the future, some of the songs and the meanings behind them, as well as the music world. So tune in. Hi, Tracy. How are you doing today?
I am doing okay. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I'm managing.
Mhm.
But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you, who has a new record coming out tomorrow, which by the time this airs, I'm going to be frank, we're airing this July 4th. You get the 4th of July episode.
Okay, gotcha. So in retrospect,
In
it has
retrospect, yes, yes. And I'm being honest here with my listeners. We're taking this now before the record comes out. And yes.
Mhm.
So are you
Also, we
excited?
could say that it's already sold 1 million copies. Isn't that
There you
amazing?
go. Yeah,
Since
wow.
June 6th. It's great.
Wow. Not even a month. So how excited are you about your record release? I mean, because I
Oh
know
my
you
God.
you crowdfunded this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. I'm actually really excited. Like when I remind myself, because there's a lot happening in life. Um, but when I think about how long it took to get this album finished and then to get it out into the world and all of the effort, but also the community and yeah, the Kickstarter was such a beautiful thing. I was so reluctant to do it because I it's so much work. But what it made me realize is that I have fans out there that love me and want to support me, and I just want to like give it back. So I'm just blown away by that communal effort, but also all the shit that I've gone through just to get here. I'm like, it's time to celebrate.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I talked to you just under a year ago.
Okay.
It was last July I talked to you. And to see that you've done this and you continue to focus and grow your music and grow your following. And yes, your album, I've listened to it and yeah, it's awesome. And there are things we're going to definitely explore because there's one song that you wrote on there, The Uncertain Sun. And I'm going to say I did tear up, but it wasn't for the reason when I listened to it, I did not read your meanings behind it. I
Huh.
teared up because when my husband's gone 5 years this year,
Yeah.
and in fact this month. But the thing about it is he was legally blind. So we would drive back home and they had these on these country roads and I would see the sunset. And I was
Oh,
always like, what a beautiful sunset. And I would sometimes have to describe it because he couldn't see it.
oh my God. That's an amazing memory.
So when I was listening to it, I started tearing up about that.
Oh yeah.
Then Then I read your meaning behind it, and well, here we are, because I'm kind of in that same I'm in that same age bracket. I'm in that whole feel of my body's betrayed me. What am I doing? And so both meanings, my personal meaning and then what you wrote, had a lot to do with it. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that, that maybe not own it, but
Um,
can relate to it.
that I mean, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that because that's wow, that's just very profound. Um, and yeah, I think the song really encompasses so many things. I had a friend who had heard it and asked me if I'd written it after I knew I had cancer. Like it was a message to death. Like I'm not ready to say goodnight. I'm not ready to go out. And I told him, I said, well, it can be about that now, but it wasn't when I wrote it. You know, it was about aging and how to change your perspective on things, and how you can see beauty in everything if you choose to.
Mhm.
And then, of course, it was originally written for Brian Wilson, thinking about his age and his mental illness. But, I did the math on how many sunsets he would have seen if he had seen every single sunset in his entire life. And it's roughly, it didn't sing well when I actually like gave the exact number, but like 30,000 sunsets was the original title. Cause like as he was approaching 80, I did that. Anyway, the song then did not end up being for Brian Wilson at all. And I took it back. I kind of adopted it and changed, because I'm a little bit younger than Brian Wilson. So the math worked out, luckily, that approximately 20,000 sunsets if I would have seen every single sunset of my life. And I just love the way that sounds. But as time went on and as I was performing it during COVID, I remember one show in particular. It was like COVID, pandemic. I was going through a divorce. I was quarantining with my ex and my son under the same roof.
Yikes.
It was like a David Lynch film, honestly. Like I didn't know what was real. And then, yeah, the anxiety and stuff kind of threw me into a real depression. And I wasn't sure. Like each day I'd wake up and I'd just look in the mirror and I'd be like, one more day. There must be an end to this. I would picture like a rainbow that would lead to where I needed to be
Hmm.
and brought me through every single day.
And that's the thing. It's like, during that time, it was like you constantly were bombarded.
Oh,
And for me, it was weird because I didn't have the lockdown per se. Even though we were locked down, I still had to take my husband to dialysis. So I would have the whole Vanilla Sky thing or, the night zombie comet movie or whatever because I'm on the road and there's barely any cars and there's
oh,
no
that's
planes. And it's just like, where
uh-huh.
we at?
Oh yeah.
But he passed during COVID, and that's the whole other thing. It's like we didn't have the normal grieving process.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Oh,
mean that just, and I think that really kind of somebody was talking about that the other day that it really changed society. That whole thing changed society as a whole.
oh God. It's in hard, especially for you. It must be hard to go back to that. Think
Um,
about,
it actually, what was the saving grace is I started the podcast in 2021, and I had a friend or two that I could actually go see during COVID. That we had made the agreement that they made sure that I had a place to go. Because
good.
yeah, I after he died, then I had the lockdown, and it was like, okay,
Oh my God. Talk about
yeah. But I
one.
mean, it's the thing is, and I also want to touch on this. I don't know about for you, but going through cancer, since we're talking a little bit about depression, people don't know how to react with you sometimes.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Cancer is like a big, scary word.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. And I don't know, I feel like we are kindred spirits in a way. You're probably a people pleaser. So you're worried about them when you tell them about your disease. You're worried about how they're going to take it or whatever. Um, but, and I think I told this story once before that I kind of didn't really want to go public with it because I wasn't sure. And I didn't want to make it all about me or whatever. But then my best friend, Tiffany, who had just been diagnosed with stage 4, she was telling me in a supportive way that by my sharing my story, that I would be very surprised with the love that would come back to me in droves if I just opened up and shared my story, which for me was more than just about cancer. It was also about my life and how I'd been pretty closed down and afraid to speak up.
Hmm.
When you're like that, you just shut down parts of yourself. And that's definitely what I was going through during that time. um, Once you actually really open it up, say it straight out, or share or be vulnerable, things are actually they come back to you and it improves your life.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that. It's always been a fear thing of like hide parts of this and oh, they don't like this side of me. So I'm just gonna like shut that down. And eventually I just ended up being like this shell of myself.
And it's very easy to fall into that trap. When you, as you said, a people pleaser, depending
Mhm.
on how your upbringing was, you learn to shut those parts of yourself off because somebody might have told you, well, you're too much.
Oh yeah.
And maybe not those exact words, but
Right.
you were just told to be smaller.
Yeah, it wasn't convenient for them.
I guess the old adage for the Gen X is
Mm.
be seen and not heard.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I didn't want to cause waves I think it's probably because of my mother, who is still an amazing mother, but she had been going through trauma where my father died before I was 2. So
Mm.
it was like she would sing "You and Me Against the World," and I think I picked up on the fact that I needed to not make waves. Do you have a thing with that song?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
After my mom and dad divorced, my mom would play Helen Reddy in the car, "You and Me Against the World," and of course there's that lovely little end on the song that says, "I love you, mommy. I love you."
Oh, I forgot about
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So yes, I 100% right there with you. Granted, I
holy
was a
cow.
little older, but yeah.
I mean, and that can cause a lot of codependency right there.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, for my mom, it was like, so she's doing this. We're living with my grandmother, and this is all about we're gonna be a unit. I love you. This is all this. Then she decides she's gonna go to Shreveport to become a truck driver. I'm
Okay.
like, okay, fine, good, go for it. And then when we
Mhm.
come back home, well, I'll come back to New Orleans and everything will be good. She ends up getting her thing and she gets her certification. And then she goes and trains for a company up there, and her training teacher ends up being her husband eventually. And suddenly, my grandmother and I really are second fiddle, and we don't matter. And then we move up to Shreveport, and she looks at me. This is a great, great mothering. I come home because I was picked on first time in co-ed school in years. And I come home crying, and she looks at me and she opens up her bedroom door, and I'm like, "Mom, can we talk?" And I'm a junior in high school. She's like, "No, I have my own problems to deal with. Take care of yourself." Boom.
Oh
It's like,
God.
I love you, Mom.
Right.
Yeah, you and me against the world. Yeah, not so much.
Right. No, me and me against.
Exactly. So when you said that song, it's just like,
Yeah, your face dropped.
it was just kind of like, nobody talks about that song. Nobody.
No, I mean that's like a formative song for me, and I don't know. I wouldn't have remembered it because I was too young, but I know my mom told me that story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the whole at the end of that song is just like, mm-mm-mm. Anyway, so music, we're still talking about music, even
Of
though.
course. Why not? Mhm.
So Jumping Bean, that's another song that I was kind of amused by because as a younger artist, I know that they were trying to mold your image and mold who you were, and you had to, which I mean, when you look at today's artists, they're younger, but they get the freedom of social media to handle and do whatever they want. It's good or
Yeah,
bad, which goes back to
exactly.
another song that you did. But
Better things.
how empowering is it now to do the song and basically say "fuck the patriarch"?
Exactly. It feels great. It just, yeah, I love that this song has lasted for me. I would play it live and just the lyrics would always apply because I'm always rebelling against something or somebody. Like, don't you tell me what to do. But yeah, when I think about that time in around, it was from 98 to 2000, because like I was primed, right? I had that hit album,
Hmm.
hit song. 98 would have been the next release, and that's only 2 years after. That would have been okay. But, the machine just slowed to a halt, and then they were trying to get me, yeah, to pose on the cover with my midriff. And this whole endeavor now is kind of like a redo and a liberation, and part of the artwork in my art and cover art and inside the liner notes is from the year 2000 or the 1998 when I had the photo shoot, which is beautiful and kind of edgy, but not like, hi, this is my belly button.
Yeah.
So I just like going back and kind of being like, okay, let's just go back in time, and now I'm gonna shape my future now. I'm just gonna take a little bit of what happened and I'm gonna shape it. I'm gonna own it.
They want you to be a Maxim cover girl, and you just weren't feeling that kind of stuff, huh?
Mm-mm,
I
no.
mean, but that's still when you look at what's out there in the music business, that's still true.
Mm.
That's still true when you look at what women are wearing mostly for stage performances now.
I mean, I can't. Oh my God, right? Like Dua Lipa or whatever. Oh my God. It's
And
so this.
it is showbiz. I mean, but is it really any different than a Vegas showgirl
I
back in the
mean,
day?
often, no, it's not any different. It's how to get more eyeballs on you. And I get it. Okay, I just get it. It's whatever. It's human nature.
Sex sells,
Yeah, but like if the music isn't good, then I could give a shit.
right? And
Yeah.
that's the thing. You can dress up anybody in something skimpy, but if their voice isn't good,
Oh yeah.
then
Forget it.
what? You
Yeah.
know? And
That's just in,
it's not judging anybody, but it's just like, when do you take ownership of your career and yourself? And you're doing that now. And I think
Mhm.
for a lot of younger artists, they want that contract so they can have the notoriety, have the fame.
Seriously, like even I found myself just before I decided to do the Kickstarter, I was having discussions with a indie label, and there was the young me that was just like, yeah, just take the contract because it just they'll do like they'll take care of everything for you. And but I knew that that was not true. It was just more like a lazy part of me that was just like, I'll just let them and they'll make all the decisions. And then I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Do not go back to that old mindset. And it turned out I'm really happy that I am able to call all the shots. It looked as though it was going to be constrictive. And I was like, nope, can't do it.
Well, even I got to talk to Ian Dench from EMF, not to name drop, but the reason why I bring this up is EMF has even kind of done their own thing. They're doing
Uh-huh.
their own stuff because it's like, why give it to somebody else when you lose a percentage? And that's the same thing with me as a writer. It's like, I am in the author because I'm not going to give my stuff away to somebody else to do what with.
And you never know exactly. They could just sit on it and then not let you even have it.
Exactly.
Oh,
So why do
yeah.
that? And I mean,
Hmm.
there's freedom when you get to be the creator and have creative control,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
there can always be an executive going, this song Jumping Bean, I really don't like what it says.
Exactly. Exactly.
I kind of feel
Totally.
I kind of feel like you're attacking me, and this needs to be taken off the record.
Passive aggressive about me. Yeah. It's funny. I'd been going through some old footage. I had a lot of stuff digitized from back then in that time. And there's a lot of footage from making my album Down Here, which was the second album. And there's a moment that I caught, which is just so, so telling. But we had the music executives come into the studio to have a listen
Uh-huh.
party or whatever. And I barely even knew these music executives anymore because my original people had all fled the scene like soon after my first album was released. So I'm filming them with my handheld camera and they're just sitting there like one guy looks like Humpty Dumpty sitting there and motionless. And the producers, Mitchell and Chad, are kind of bopping and they're just like this. And then I just remember after they left, we all got drunk because it was just a terrible vibe. And they were like, I don't get the artistic numbers. And we were like, oh my God, here we go. This is what we're in for.
But that's my question is, I mean, I know some executives have an ear, but how many that are in that position really understand the music industry? I mean, maybe not the industry, but the music part of it.
It takes a real special person to be on both sides, to be like an artist advocate and an art advocate, and also have the business sense. There's only a few people that I've ever encountered that I've met that can balance both sides.
And I think that that's harmful actually for the artist, because you may hear something and they're just looking at dollars and that's it. And they're not going
Oh
to get
yeah.
it.
And you take it to heart and you're just like, oh my God, it makes you feel really insecure. And then you're thinking about the external and then it's not about your art anymore or your message. It's really tough. You have to be really strong.
So when you look back at that point, did you see yourself as strong, or did you see yourself as just kind of, I don't want to say spiraling, but kind of just floating
Mhm.
around like, what
Right.
am I doing anymore?
Mm. Yeah, it hit me pretty hard because I felt strong. And, my first album, boom, came out and I was like busting doors down. I was a little conflicted. Fame was weird, made me feel really insecure. And it was just a lot. But when those things started to happen, like the dominoes, like slowly falling, it did get to me. And I started to spiral into I guess that would have been my early life depression in my 30s. That was really, really tough because I'd banked on things, which is another mistake when you're young. You're thinking like, oh, I'll just do this forever. I've made it.
Hmm. Well, isn't it weird that fame, because a lot of people want fame because everybody will love me. I won't be insecure, everything. I'll be
Yeah.
secure with myself. But yet you hear more stories about people that become famous that become more insecure
Oh
and
yeah.
more self-doubting than
Yeah.
anything.
It messes with your brain. And I see why people would turn to drugs and alcohol or whatever addiction just to escape it, because it's fake, really. Because if it doesn't come from internally, right? If you're not
Mhm.
confident in yourself and you're just getting the hits from external and everybody else, I mean, there's only that much you can really tap into without then just feeling depleted once you're sitting there in the mirror in the dressing room and everyone's gone and you're just like stuck with yourself. It's like almost even lonelier,
Yeah.
the dichotomy of like after everybody's in the dressing room, party, party, oh my God, you're the best. And then they leave, you sink and you're like, oh my God, now I'm below zero.
Wow. And you think about how that also, if you take that into normal day, everyday life now in our world with social
Mm,
media, you get
mm,
the younger generation gets the hits and then they don't get a hit and then their mood tanks and then they're back constantly performing. I mean, in a way, it's like social media is a circus. You have to be the
yeah.
trained performer to constantly put something out there.
And it's all about that dopamine and it's like a chemical. And you're right. If the supply is taken, it's just you can
Mm.
dip.
And the
It's really
algorithm, well, can mess with you.
algorithm.
Well, and here's the thing I want to talk about because you said, "Dear God, should I hit send?" And
Yeah.
granted, that's not the same thing as social media, but it is because it's still, did I put is everything done on this video properly? Is everything good? I gotta make sure it's all.
Or
So,
what if you tweet something that like next day you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it did that,
hmm.
take it down or whatever, but the damage is already done. I'm having a good time with this song in particular because getting ready for my shows, I can say it now because it'll be after the
Yeah.
fact. I have a little bit that I'm going to do about because the song is clearly a classical ripoff, right? It's like a weird mashup of like bolero,
Hmm.
Ravel, Carmen's, Bizet's Carmen, and then a Debussy nocturne. But it's the lyrics are about sending that tweet that you shouldn't have or sending the text. So I have this moment where I'm going to talk about like as if as if Debussy back in the 1830s had a Twitter feed.
Okay.
And I did some research and I was like, oh, there was this Polish uprising and Debussy left Poland and went to like France or whatever. But like, what if like he or his friends accidentally texted the assassination plan to somebody? And then I was like, oh, it's so relevant for today.
Oh,
Like who
yes.
world plans in a group text, like and not think twice before hitting send.
Gee,
So
I put somebody from a newspaper in this group text.
yeah, I mean, seriously,
Yeah, there's a lot of things that make you go, are we living up in some kind of other timeline or something? Because none of this makes sense.
it's all jokes. Somebody's playing a big old joke on us.
Indeed. So since this show will have already happened, how did the Fred Armisen thing come about?
Oh yeah, he and I have known each other for so long. I think it was 2003 when we met, and we just hit it off immediately. And actually, when we first met, he knew who I was, and I had no idea who he was, which I love. And it was pre, handheld. I mean, I think I had a Nokia or a Trio or whatever, but
Hmm.
we went out to coffee. And when Fred went to the bathroom, I called my best friend on the phone. I was just like, Fred Armisen, look him up. What's his deal? Who is he? Like, I think he might be famous. And then she called back. She's like, okay, he's on SNL. And it looks here like he doesn't like when people eat apples in public. I'm like, got it. Hung up. That's all he knew about him. But this friendship started, and of course, he's just fun and funny. Um, and he's always just been so willing and game to do silly things with me. So he and I did a silly video where I released my first album 20 years later. And I came up with the idea that I would be auditioning for my own album because it's a remake. And so I'd be
Hmm.
auditioning for singer. And all he needed was that as a prompt. And then we just made this hilarious video where he improvised the entire thing on the spot. So I just love revisiting those videos with him. But and then just recently, back in like probably January or December, I was like, hey Fred, I have this like record release. The record's pretty heavy. I need some levity. Can you come and help me with this? And he was completely game. And it's been really fun coming up with ideas with him. He's not one to rehearse, so I'll see what happens.
Flying by the seat of your pants.
Oh, totally, totally.
But that's okay. I mean, that'll keep it fun and it'll keep it interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll have some clips of it possibly on your feed.
Yeah, definitely gonna record it. So it'll already be out in the
Awesome.
world.
Are
Yeah.
you working with the ballet company anymore?
I want to.
Okay.
I want to very much. It was so much fun. It was really life-changing for me. And I think that's part of the reason why I started working on this music in the way that it is that I knew it was going to be on stage and there was this classical influence. It was very cinematic, and my music had already been kind of leaning towards that. And then it just gave it this whole environment to just explore. So it's kind of a big deal for me, and I really would love to do it again, whether it's with that company or definitely Susie the choreographer, or maybe we take it somewhere else. I'll do it anywhere, and we could do it like with one dancer, we could do it with 50 dancers. Depending on the budget. um I would love to do more of that.
And I mean, you're right. The music does lend itself to it. It's perfect for it.
Yeah.
So, where do you hope to? Are you going to? I know Ray had mentioned to me that you're going to be touring a little bit in Europe. You're doing some European dates.
Yeah. Hmm.
And are you planning on doing anything in the States?
Yes. So you said this comes out in July,
July
what?
4th.
July 4th. Okay. So, oh, good. Um, oh, good. At that point, I will have shows coming up in August,
Okay.
Pittsburgh City Winery, August 5th. And then West Coast dates would be Los Angeles at McCabe's. So it's funny because right now, what are we, June 5th?
Hmm.
Solid about which date, but I'll just say check on the website because we've got Los Angeles, we've got San Francisco or Oakland, we've got Eugene, we've got Seattle, and maybe some things in between there, all in the second part of August.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it seems like everybody avoids the Chicago area, I've noticed.
Oh, I did. Well, I went there. I played there last summer.
I'm just saying it's one of, I think, yeah, you did. I interviewed you, I think, after you performed in
Ah,
Chicago. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like everybody I talked to lately are like, so are you gonna, no, no, you're out there, I'm here. And
right.
besides, with this, I don't really want to go in a crowd.
Probably not. No, not for a
No,
while.
no,
No, no.
no. But that's okay. So there's another song I wanted to talk to you about, which was Damn the Sky.
Hmm.
That was kind of a touching song as well.
I
What
don't know how.
inspired that?
It's hard to get through that song without,
Mm-hmm.
becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that song was written just by divine like intervention. I just sat down at the piano. I was feeling really lonely and really frustrated. Parenting can be really hard, and if you don't have a partner that you feel like you can actually really commiserate with or feel supported by or whatever, I mean, that day in particular, I was just like, I need a lifeline. I need my parents. Oh, they're 3,000 miles away. And they're in their 80s. I don't have anyone around. Like, it was pretty isolating because we're older parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that just doesn't lend itself to having like a community around to help out. Um, and so we were going through some stuff with our son, and so I just sat down at the piano and just started playing on the black keys, and then all of a sudden I was like playing the song, and the lyrics were coming out of me, which never happens. I'm always kind of like reworking them later. And that moment of Where's My Village just came, and I was just like, either this song is called Where's My Village or it's called Damn the Sky for Being Too Wide, which is kind of my metaphor for just wanting to shrink the sky and bring everybody closer to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah. And then the pandemic happened. So then it was like even more isolation. Yay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the one thing. I mean, yeah, as bad as cancer is, my dad and I have kind of been estranged for a long time. That's
Okay.
just because that's how our relationship has been. And he lives in New Orleans, I live up here. But I
Hmm.
will say, and I really was like, I was dreading telling him because I'm like, he's not going to care. I will
Mm.
say the one gift I've gotten is he can't hear. So he texts me every day. He
Oh,
texts me every day to see how I'm doing.
see?
Yeah, so I'm
Because
like,
you shared it with him and then you were surprised.
mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
gave him the chance to like show up. Wow.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow. That's huge.
And then talking to my other family, I've seen why some of his issues, and that's the thing I think when we look at our parents, because you were talking about your mom and stuff. When we look at our parents, we see our parents as our parents. We don't look at the trauma that they may have gone
Oh,
through.
right.
We
Right.
look at them as, and it's been a gift
Uh,
too, because I talked to his sister who's like 92, and she basically told me about my grandparents that I didn't know. I mean,
Amazing.
I knew my grandparents, I knew them, I grew up with them, but I didn't know them.
So much, I bet.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I understand now my dad's behaviors.
See, exactly, because they're their own people, right? We do forget. We're just like, you're my mom and you should be,
Hmm.
or dad, but they had their own trauma. And
Hmm.
then their parents had their own trauma. And then it just continues. Like there's so much generational trauma. And then it's our job, if we should
Choose,
accept,
yeah.
yeah, to overcome that shit. And that's a whole lifelong thing.
Yeah, because usually you don't realize this until you've hit at least 40.
Exactly.
When
And
you're
you've
in your,
already, yeah.
yeah, in your 20s, your 30s, you're like, oh, just go. Yeah, you're my parent. Go away. I don't,
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah, go away. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's been 30 years since I moved to Chicago. That should tell
Mhm.
you everything you need to know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, what are you going to do after the record's out, after you tour some more? Are you still creating music? Are you going to do another crowdfunding? What are your plans?
I was just thinking about that. Like, whew, crowdfunding. Um, as much as I like, it's so funny. I'm so conflicted about it. I'm like, oh, it's just too much work. But really, it was really a month of yes, work, but it really turned out to be beautiful. And my fans are incredible and I feel so loved. So I'll just say I wouldn't say no to that. But I do have new music ideas on the horizon. I definitely don't want it to be another 10 years or whatever. I can't believe all these gaps in between my albums. But I plan, with my new life situation where I'm finding more supportive people and stuff, I plan on being more creative and productive rather than spending so much energy on something that's just not working or relationship stuff. It's just time to have a flow.
And relationship stuff is very hard in this day and age. Very
It's
hard.
always hard. I think it's always hard.
I know, but I think now there's like other things that, you know,
Hmm.
how do you meet somebody now? How do you that kind of stuff? Because it's
Oh
like
yeah.
you don't want to do it on here because how
Mm.
many people are lying?
Oh yeah. It's just ripe for problems. Yeah.
So it's one of those weird things that's like, where do you find yourself going?
Mhm.
And for like me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move. Everything's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. You have cancer.
Right.
Oh, so
Seriously.
I haven't even unpacked my house. It's like,
Wow. No, exactly. Plans sometimes are just, I mean, like somebody's laughing, just like really, like if you delay, like I've thought about that too. Just delaying the leaving or delaying just taking like the bull by the horns and getting, taking control of my life. If you delay, it just shit's gonna happen, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay, now I have to stay where I am or whatever.
mm-hmm.
So
And
yeah.
I think that's, I don't know where you fall on the astrology line, but around 57 to 60, you're hitting that second Saturn return, and Saturn likes to go, hey, what are you doing with your life? Because
Right.
I'm going to make sure you straighten yourself out.
Oh yeah. And I'm gonna make it tough. I'm gonna make
Hmm.
you work for it.
And I mean, honestly, I know most people that hit around 57, right before they hit that Saturn return, some health issue comes up.
Oh,
Most
interesting.
every woman that I know of, some kind of
Wow.
health issue has come up.
Oh my God. That's exactly me. I think it was 57 last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And it comes
Hey,
up, and then you're like, okay, and when you think about it, that forces you, one, you have to sit down and take care of yourself.
yeah.
Two, you have to really look at your life and go, okay. Because when you hear that big C word, the first thought that comes in the back of your head is, I don't want to die, which goes back
Right.
to that song you wrote. But it's like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Of course, for me, when I had my surgery, I'm like, with the way the world's going,
I believe me, I know those thoughts, right? Just like, hey, you guys, you guys handle this because this is weird. I'm out. I
yeah,
get it. Times, yeah,
yeah,
I get
because I
it.
mean, right now it's like, we don't have a normal world. We
We don't.
don't, this is, everything's kind of just off, off the grid, or not off the grid, but off the rails.
It's a circus. It's chaos. but then, okay, so the beauty could be that we then go even more internal and create our communities and our villages, look out for each other in a beautiful way. And hopefully, like, if we just stay put for a while, not stay put, but like, just
Nurture.
never, yeah, nurture exactly. Then somehow they're all going to burn out or something, right?
That's what I'm hoping.
Can they just hurry up and burn out and just implode or something?
Well, it's like you turn on TV and it's like, or social media, and you're like, what,
I
what
know.
are you
Oh,
like
right?
yesterday? Like yesterday with the boat, we're taking the name off the boat. Why? You're
That's,
taking Harvey Milk's name off the boat. Why?
I don't,
And then we
like,
put, yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, it's seriously, it's cartoonish.
Mm-hmm. Although did you watch Rocky and Bullwinkle when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Do you remember the very end where it was like na 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 na, and the light bulbs were exploding as the janitor was cleaning up?
That
That's
sounds familiar.
yeah, that's kind of how it feels around here.
Right. Clean up. Oh my God.
So you're excited about the record. I know tomorrow's going to be a big day for you.
Yeah.
And how are the fans reacting so far?
I think very positively. You know, gotten some nice press, some good reviews. Things are just different. Like, so I can't compare it to any other past releases or release days. It's just different. I don't know.
Do you feel more empowered?
I do feel more empowered, but I also kind of feel like, without having a big machine where, like it's so DIY. It's so
Hmm.
like to me. And sometimes I'm just like, yeah, but I got to make my kids lunch. Like
Yeah.
what now? And then, oh, I got to go make a music video or something and on my own. I mean, and luckily, technology now, it's pretty incredible. I've been working with learning how to, make my own videos kind of, but I'm not savvy. I'm not young. I just like, I kind of I need like a 14-year-old to help me out with some stuff. But uh that said, I'm just letting the music just kind of rise to the top. And that's the most important thing.
This is going to sound like a bizarre question, but
Lay it on me.
um so the moment you got to hold your first album in your hand compared
Mm,
to the moment you are holding the new album in your hand, is there a difference in the feel? Because I know holding my book the first time I had a paperback, it was just like, okay, I've done it. So is
oh
there a
yeah.
difference? Because that, while you did it,
Mhm.
this you really did it.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah, it is so different because right there, that was cool and thing kind of fell in my lap, and there was a lot of money thrown into it, so I could just like woohoo, um, just kind of make shit happen in that way. And it was always surprising, getting the phone call of it. You sold 20,000 albums this week. Those were just normal numbers.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I'm just saying, not because the music is any, less valuable, but nobody sells 20,000 albums.
Mm-mm.
No one. So, I mean, unless you're like uh Taylor Swift or something, and people don't, buy CDs. It's just, it's super weird. So I just kind of go through my day. I love hearing that people like my album, but I have no barometer anymore. I really don't. And if it has to be with like Instagram likes or shares, I can't use that as a barometer. I
Mm-mm.
don't, it's got to come within because I just can't tell.
Oh, I agree. I had an episode recently that I had on my socials over 1,000 hits on the promo stuff, and I had 20 hits on the podcast at first release. So it was like,
Oh, you can't judge, right? It's
no.
so hard, and everyone's doing that. They're all judging themselves, even as people, or as public figures, by those likes. And I don't know.
And it's all superficial because let's be honest, if they like that, doesn't mean they actually like you. I mean,
Right.
that's one thing I know about like doing the podcast. It's like my friend and I have talked about it. I'm like, sure, I have people that are diehard listeners that listen to every episode. But then I also know that I may get a bump because I book somebody
Oh yeah.
that has a bigger following.
Right.
I'm not going to fool myself. Maybe they like me, maybe they decide to stick around, but
Mhm.
in this game, just like your record
Mhm.
or just like the streaming services now, your song, that one song may do well, but that doesn't mean everything else is going to.
Right. And you're just, and unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to get too dark or whatever, but it's just, we're just feeding the machine. We're
Hmm.
just, we feel like we have to do this. It's they're our only platform, I guess. And we're just feeding them,
Hmm.
you know, we're just little minuscule little products of their bigger picture, their bigger product.
Which is sad.
It's super sad. So then we have to go back. What's important, making great art, writing great books, having great conversations, and spreading the love. Because if that's all we can do, that's all we can do.
Well, and I think that's the important thing is as long as you're doing something you love, you
Mhm.
don't fall into the traps of, oh my gosh, they like me. They really like me. Um, I think it's okay because as long as you are doing what you're passionate about, you get
Yeah,
fulfillment.
for better, for worse, too, right? Like,
Yeah.
could be lean times, or it could, have a great payoff, but at least you're doing what you love.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And that sparks joy.
Yes. And that, I mean, let's just have joy as a currency. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh,
If
yeah.
we were like, love and joy would be the currency.
Yeah. I
Maybe we
mean,
can just start our own world.
that would be good, but I'm not sure where we could build that world. That's the whole thing.
I think we're building it.
Okay. Then I'm okay with that. I'm on board with that.
I know.
Yeah. Because yeah, sometimes it's like I think if you can actually look outside and if you look out your window and you can see the birds and you can appreciate the birds and you can appreciate the chipmunks running around. I mean, I saw two
And the
chipmunks
sunset.
chasing the other day.
Hmm.
It was funny to watch them, but
I mean, I love that.
yeah.
And don't forget the sunsets. If you can
Oh,
appreciate
yes.
all of the different sunsets.
Back in the early 90s, I lived right off of Lakeshore Drive in Chicago. So my morning commute to work was watching the sunrise off of Lake
Oh,
Michigan.
I love that.
It was awe-inspiring. It was
Hmm.
beautiful.
Right.
But you have to stop and appreciate it and not get caught up in
Oh,
every and I mean, yes, being the people pleaser, you get wrapped up in that whole drama of did I do that right? Did I do this right? And we need to really, and this is a general message, just stop doing that.
oh yeah, for sure. And also stop trying to prove, like say, for instance, you see that beautiful sunrise, and then nowadays, people, if they were in that doing that, they'd stop and take a picture and then post it and prove that they were there, or that it really happened, or whatever their take on it is. Like, why not just savor the moment and not have to prove it to other people?
Well,
It's your moment.
how many concerts have you gone to? And granted, I took some pictures at a concert, but I not very often. But how many concerts have you gone to where you've enjoyed the show and that's all it was? You didn't have a camera.
I mean, right?
And now everybody's got their camera up taking picture oh,
Like, where are they when they're doing, exactly? Are they there in the moment, or are they like in this like third dimension watching what's happening to make sure it really happened? It's super weird.
I mean, yeah, I had front row at a concert, and yes, I took some pictures because I was in front row. Why not? But I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't spend the whole concert doing this.
Right.
I wanted to
It's
be there.
exactly, exactly.
And I think that's what we need to try to start focusing on is being present.
Yep, exactly.
Because as both of us know, tomorrow you never know what may happen.
Exactly. No, and we have this gift, this reminder.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
So is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to add?
We always go around the gamut. No, I don't think so. I think we had a good old chin wag. Of
Yes. Yes. So I thank you for coming on, Tracy.
course. Thank you. Anytime.
I always enjoy talking to Tracy. I've done it twice now, and the conversation always flows easily. It's kind of like sitting down with a good friend and just shooting the breeze. And that's part of the great thing about this job is that I get to sit there and talk to people that I connect with. And on so many levels, I get it. The song that we were talking about, You and Me Against the World. Yes, it's a very codependent song. And Helen Reddy wrote it. It's not a bad song, but it's one of those songs, especially when a mom is singing to you. It's kind of like, oh yes, oh, this is all great. It's just us against the world. And yeah, when your mom is divorced, it's kind of like, okay. And in Tracy's situation, her dad had passed, so I understand why her mom would sing this to her. But it's one of those things where it's like it can be very codependent, especially as a child. It's very something very impressionable that your parents going to be there with you no matter what. And as we all know, and as we kind of talked about near the end, there is sometimes our parents, we don't look at them, and I've talked about this before. We don't look at them as more than being our parent. We don't see them as having their own traumas to deal with. And it's something that, for me, especially recently, it's been a gift that I've been given. As I had said there on the podcast, cancer, the one gift I've gotten out of it is my father, and that has been always a tenuous relationship. After they split, the relationship changed, and it didn't help that I had a mother who decided that she was going to try and badmouth him every chance she got. But that was her. And there's nobody I can really go back to and say, okay, so why was mom this way? And it's really irrelevant. But I have to accept that that's who she was. Just like now, I can look at my dad with a little bit clearer picture and still see his flaws and still see who I know. But I can look at him with grace. And I think if we even look at the people in our life, and when you look, we can look at people that you may meet. Everybody's like, "Don't meet your idols." Okay, well, that may be true. But the thing about it is, we have to look at everybody, each person individually, and look at them as a human being, that they have flaws, that they have traumas, that they have been abused. And yes, there's a lot going on right now in the world where we're like, how the hell did we get here? And I'm not saying that we have to forgive everybody, but we have to look at people and take them for where they're at that moment, but not go so hard to think unless they're really doing something bad. And then, well, yes, I totally agree that we need to do something. But as long as it's legal and it's not going to harm anybody. But I think it's important that we look at somebody and realize that maybe they've gone through some things. And one thing Tracy was talking about that really stood out was, and this is something that I've heard about fame, is that people build you up so high. And, that you get off stage, and as she was saying, people are sitting there saying how great you are, how wonderful you are. And then they're gone. So you're left there wondering, did it really matter? Because you don't have that person there or a group of people there that are being true. I'm not saying that they were phony because I don't know and I didn't ask her that question and maybe I should have. But the feeling of all that love and then suddenly to be really alone, it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to feel. And we've all had those moments where people think we're great and things are wonderful, and then they're not. I mean, simply put, there was a situation with my mom that, if I, when I was queen of the school in eighth grade, my mom went on and on about how wonderful I was and thought I was great and da 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 da. Okay. And then as soon as I wasn't queen anymore, yes, I started slacking off in school again because I pulled out A's to be queen and I was bored. So suddenly mom wasn't so happy with me and I was in trouble. But that was the game her and I played because the only time I would get attention is if I was her A student. And even if I was her A student, then she'd still find something else to be wrong about. And I think that is going back to that people pleaser. You're taught to please somebody, to make them happy. And a lot of people in Gen X, that's something that we really don't talk about. A lot of Gen Xers were taught to be that people pleaser. We were taught, to be seen and not heard, and to basically, how can I make you happy? Especially because Gen X started dealing with the divorce ratio. That became more prevalent during Gen X's time. Before that, people were still sticking together. But after women got the ability to have that right to own a credit card, to rent a house, to do things outside, that's when divorce started to rise. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because people stayed in relationships sometimes just out of obligation. They didn't stay in a relationship because they loved somebody. It was just because it was the thing to do and the only option they had. So when you look at that, when you look at how things started to shift, you had freedom. You had people not knowing how to navigate this world. And back then, I hate to say it, there was a lot of people that they didn't consider the kid getting traumatic injuries or any kind of trauma because it was just burn this bitch down. And you betrayed me, so I'm going to poison somebody against you. And that's an unfortunate thing. And I'm sure it still happens now. I'm not saying it doesn't. But that creates a whole separate trauma and a whole separate issue. And then you start looking at yourself going, who's being the parent? Because you have to make mom happy and you have to be the good kid for dad too. So your feelings don't matter. And that's something that we as people have to come to terms with that. And I hate the situation. And I know some people are going to be like, but it's true. Feelings aren't facts. Feelings are what we feel. They may not be facts, but they are something that is part of us. They bring us to our moments of connecting to other people. They bring us to our heart. They bring us to be compassionate for somebody else because we've gone through that. We've walked where they have walked before. And if you can't be compassionate and you can't embrace those feelings, then what do you have? You can't keep everything buried. And how did I go from mom to that? Because the fact is, my mom, as I told Tracy, I don't have time to deal with you. I don't have time. I'm dealing with my own problems. And I look at that now and I can sit here in this moment and say, I get it. But when you choose to be a parent, no matter what you're going through, and this is the hard thing about being a parent, you have to kind of be there for your kid too. Because what they're navigating, while it may seem irrelevant to you, that kid needs somebody to be compassionate with. So while I'm sitting here looking, talking about this, how does this tie up with the episode? Because the record that Tracy has made is something that is emotionally available for you to listen to and to feel. And why I say emotionally available is because she put her heart out into it. She put her feelings into it. And sometimes when we're listening to something that has those feelings, it can pull out what we need, but we're scared to face. And that's important. I mean, come on. I haven't thought about that song in a long time. And as soon as she said it, I knew I connected with it. So I think that's what's important. I think that we need to look at the bigger picture and try to connect with people because you never know what trauma they may be going through. You never know what support system or that village that needs to be built. So find your friends, call your friends, talk to your friends, just say hi, even if it's for a brief moment. Sure, a text is good, But being able to hear your friends say, "Hey, how are you?" It's an important thing because sometimes, even on the worst day, that one phone call or that one text can make somebody feel so much better, make somebody feel that they're not so alone. So, on that note, sorry, I'll step off the soapbox. But on that note, I want to thank Fast Susie for the intro and outro music. I want to thank Tracy for coming on the show. I really do appreciate talking to her. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in, whether it be morning, noon, or night, whenever you're listening. I really do appreciate it. And I thank you guys. And until next time, bye, guys.